bankruptcy at 22 when you got shafted. Do you mind telling us that?
The bankruptcy was pretty ugly, sure. I had a building business. I appointed a manager to the operation, and this guy was very clever in how he embezzled the money out of it. He just started building shit on his own and using my accounts. How do you justify that stick of timbers from my account and not yours? It was just messy. And the only way to solve it fast was to walk away. That took me to the line. I was $431,000 below zero.
Mark Rolton is an Australian property developer who has completed 460 plus projects and owns 2,000 plus dwellings.
After going bankrupt at 22 with $431,000 in debt from embezzlement, he rebuilt his career specializing in affordable housing and converting caravan parks into permanent residential communities.
Do not bring me a problem without the solution. I don't pay you to identify the problem. They're always going to be there, particularly in the space of development. You can be a dickhead or you can have the choice to be a real leader. I think of business, if you choose that ladder, you'll always win.
We spoke about drive. You say drive isn't spoken about enough. Tenacity, the want to win. What does that mean to you, and why do you think it's spoken about enough? Mr. Mark Rolton, mate, welcome to the Top 1% podcast.
Thanks for having us, Sam.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. This is a little bit of a full circle moment for me, mate. We had a bit of a chat off air when you were first walking in, and I would have done your property options course, mate, nearly 15 years ago. I would have done it when I was about 21, 22. Right. I'm 34, 35, whatever the bloody hell I am now. And, mate, I've watched you from the sidelines for a very, very long time. And it's honestly, man, it's an honour to share the mic with you.
Yeah, and likewise, man. I love the story from rags to riches, and it seems that that's the case for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, mate. Likewise, mate. Likewise, same to you as well. I think I've always seen mutual respect when it comes to people that have cut from very similar cloths. And I think, like, you're obviously a little bit further in front of me. You've been doing it for a lot longer as well. But I love watching someone's rise to what you've done, and then how you've continued to build what you've built as well. Off air, I asked you a question, and something you don't think is spoken about enough, and something that's very dear to my heart is people's drive and their tenacity. And it was funny that you brought that up, because it was a question I already had written in there for you as well. And really around, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
Just turned 50.
Just turned 50. Happy birthday, mate.
Well, thanks. I'd rather not talk about it.
But mate, like, you're still jacked. Like, mate, you're popping. Everything's popping out. If you had something short sleeve, I reckon I'd be seeing the vascularity of you. But mate, where does the drive come? We spoke about drive. You say drive isn't spoken about enough. Tenacity, the want to win. What does that mean to you, and why do you think it's spoken about enough?
Look, that's a very layered question, Sam. I mean, off air, you and I had a brief discussion, but I think the challenge that you've got is a hungry market all racing towards the aesthetics of what success means. You want substance. You want a reason to make something happen. And, Da Vinci said it well. He said, the drive in life is to find your gift. Your gift to the world is to give it away. Right? So honing that craft requires something very big on the horizon. It can't be just a sports car, mate, and a beautiful woman on your shoulder. That doesn't make a lick of difference. If you want long-lasting success, you've got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? If I'm going to now throw down the next 20, 30 years of hard labour and sacrifice, where does this get me? What's this about? And I think that when you're brave and courageous enough to get deep with those questions, and that's quiet time with a man by himself. That's not a collective group environment. That's not some shared experience. When you start to really fossick and look for the discovery of those answers, then something beautiful emerges. And I believe that's where our essence starts. We're wired very different to women. And I think that when a man is willing to go to that place and ask himself, what would it mean if I died without this? If I didn't conquer this, what does that mean? And I think we start to work backwards from there. We're very linear men. We're very mechanical. We're good at solving problems. There's the problem. That's the challenge. Now, how do I conquer that? How do I get there? That becomes, the next 20 years of applying ourselves to our craft.
And so for you, that singular focus has allowed you to maintain the drive and the intensity.
Most certainly.
And keep pushing forward. What is it? What is it for you?
Family.
I
don't want my family to grow up the way that I did.
Okay.
That doesn't mean just financially. That means physically, spiritually, emotionally. All those layers. Yeah. Finance is one part of it. It's one sort of spoke in the wheel. But what about the rest of it? where they live, how they grew up, were they encouraged, were they loved? They didn't really exist in my home as a kid.
Yeah.
There was some of that, remnants of that, but it wasn't common.
How do you think the next generation, which we see coming through, again, you and I had a bit of a candid chat about it just before we started, and in my honest opinion, I think there's too many people coming through too soft. Both genders, but especially men, coming through that are entitled men. They don't understand the level of work and sacrifice and dedication that is required to own the super. Mate, you just rocked up in a fucking $1 million Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like, they think they should have that now, and it should just be a given right.
Yeah.
How do they cultivate that level of intensity that allows them to get there? Because you don't buy $1 million car, undoubtedly in cash. You had 3 supercars before, I know. You just got rid of them all, you bought that one. You don't buy that sort of asset in cash, or have the ability to, without having something different wired inside you. What do you believe is a way to cultivate that? If you weren't born and brought into and brought up with it, what about people that are in their 20s now that weren't brought up with potentially the environments that you and I had? How do they now cultivate it?
Yeah, that's a super question. That's a really great question. And the answer's obvious to me, but it took a long time to work this out. But it was certainly my journey. It was not the case that I had those resources, those smarts, that street savvy, nor that intelligence. You know, that drive came from a lack, a scarcity in my home life, an instability. So you and I look to fix what's, broken. You're saying to me the opposite. If they were just raised in a normal household, how do I garner that level of focus and discipline? Simple. Go find someone that's got it. Create that network. Get around people that are making a bigger game than you. So if I don't have the drive and I don't have that smarts and I don't necessarily want to work that hard, go find someone that's already doing it. It's got the answers you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to work it out yourself. And if you do, you'll turn 40 and you're like, it's all too late.
It's all gone past,
Yeah, that's right. You're trying to catch up. You can't play that.
You know what's funny, man? I love this. It's people think it's like, oh, it is what it is, or like I've reached a certain point, whatever it is, right? I always had the tenacity within me. It's funny. Remember the 2 boys I mentioned to you? It was Nathan Guy. And I met them, and they did your course, very similar time to me back in the day. They're developers. They've done very well for themselves. And it was funny, man, because like what you just said just then just popped something into my mind around rewiring, right? I had a massive chip on my shoulder. I've always had a massive chip on my shoulder. Actually, I love it because it gives me drive. It gives me that determination to always try and win, right?
Men must have some degree, a level of an ego.
Agreed.
Actually, force us to wake up.
Dive on a little bit more. Give me more on that. A level of ego.
Look, that's a long conversation. I mean, look, a healthy ego it forces you to reconcile in your own mind that I'm better than this. True or false?
Yes. Yeah,
if I can now derive a vision that I can be greater, more, deeper, more successful, my ego is going to lead me there. But it's only when that ego's unchecked becomes dangerous, right? And you've seen that dickhead, in the plane in business class or first class and is making a total scene of it. They're often the ones that are broke actually trying to pretend to be rich, right? Isn't it true?
Yeah, it's true.
So, I think an ego must be kept, in balance, and it's important for a man, of your stature that's going in your direction at that pace. He must have some level of desire.
I agree.
Women don't have that. And if they do, they're trying to be men. Right?
Interesting. Where I was going with that as well was a rewire, right? And when I met those boys, I agree with you on all those points too. And I think it's required. All those different pieces are required. But I think anyone that thinks they can't rewire themselves is funny, because when I met those boys, I had the scarcity mindset.
Yes.
I had the chip on my shoulder. I was always pushing really hard, but I didn't want to see anyone else win. And that had come from like my upbringing too. So it was like that scarcity mindset combined with that. But when I met them, it was weird because I think at the time I would have had 15 odd properties, right? And they both had, I think one of them had 6 and one of them had 8 properties. So I had more than the 2 of them combined. But what was really weird was they were so pumped for me to have 15 properties. And I'd never been around that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like I almost couldn't fathom it.
Yeah.
But the more time I spent around them and the more that they pumped me up, the more that I couldn't be like, well, they got 6 or 8 properties, like not even like having a gold or anything like that. Like in terms of like You fucking just couldn't put them down or anything. And all you could do would be pumped for them to be doing their developments and doing their things as well.
Understood.
And for me, it was the weirdest rewire that I ever went through. And it was the most uncomfortable I actually ever felt with two people that I got on really well with. But it rewired out of my system what I'd grown up with my family, which was that negative bias towards other people doing well.
Okay.
And it made me realize that it was good to see other people do well too.
Yes.
And it was weird because then that year was the year. Remember I told you there was a year that was really hard for me in the BA, in the buyer's agency when I first started? I met those boys in that year and I rewired myself to almost like this, it sounds as a fugazi load of shit, but like almost like this abundance of wanting to see other people win as well. And then all of a sudden I started flying. Right. And I was already doing well, but it was almost like I had this shackle on me that unshackled when I realized like it was okay for other people to win as well.
Gotcha.
And I went through a rewire.
Yes.
You know, and then it kind of went to this different level. So it's weird, man. And I didn't mean to kind of take it in that direction. It's funny, those boys popped in my mind because we did the same course through yourself all those years ago. But we talk about rewiring or trying to push to that different level. The exposure, as you're saying that you go find someone else, that exposure to someone else that is driven and wired like that can rewire you to go on this path.
Of course.
So I love that.
Totally. I mean, it's easier to follow someone's taillights than it is to try and invent, the light in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think of a road right now and it's just pitch black.
Yep.
You're trying to create a headlight. Where the fuck am I going? Versus there's taillights just over there.
Follow him.
And that's the direction I'm headed.
Yep.
Like, it's very simple. And there's so many people. I don't know the circles that you move in, Sam, but, certainly at my level, I'm not saying financially. Let's just talk about life. But I'm always saddling up beside someone that's better than me, that knows more than me, that's a better father than me. That's the habit, right? And these are men, fucking champions in their own right. Their bank account doesn't reflect their success.
Interesting.
Got it? Mm-hmm. And you'll work this out too. You're what, 33, 35?
35,
You'll get there. You're well on your path. As I said, finances are one spoke in the wheel. It's not the true measure of it all. But if you continue to now recognise the validity of that and start to, embrace and start to foster those relationships early, because you will rise. Yeah. You just got to be making sure that you're encouraging that you're putting yourself in those situations, those uncomfortable situations, where you look a bit weird. What's your phone number, mate? I need to catch up with you. I'm always doing that.
Yeah.
Always doing that. A friend of mine reached out to me yesterday, and he was unapproachable 3.5 years ago, and he is a very successful chap, not in the world that you and I are in, but very well written. I don't know, 15, 20 books, accolades, incredibly wealthy, but in the A-list sort of circles of the world. Okay. Right? He's moved back to Aussie, and I sort of, some friends knew him, and I reached out and we caught up, and we played some paddle together, strangely, right? Yeah. And I just looked weird. One day I'm sitting in the seat and I said, James, can I grab your phone number? And he kind of like, oh yeah. It's a bit of a weird, awkward moment. Yeah. And now he's ringing me just saying, listen, you and I had a conversation about 4 months ago. Yeah. And it was fucking pivotal. And this is what came of that. That was just yesterday.
Interesting.
So I'm not going to them with a deficit. How do I contribute to the betterment of this man? And hopefully there's some crumbs there for me. Yeah. But they're definitely above me, Sam, is the delineation I want to leave with you. And so they're definitely above my level.
And you're always looking for that?
Oh, you have to.
Okay.
Because if you don't, where do you go?
How do you get yourself in those circles?
Well, that's my point.
Playing paddle.
Yeah, you're exposing yourself. Yeah. You're making yourself vulnerable. You're deliberately pushing yourself into other people's world. Yeah. But they're kind of smart too. They recognise that's how they got there too. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
James didn't get there without penetrating the circles of Hollywood and being a bit uncomfortable and asking for phone numbers and looking for jobs and making inquiries, right? Yeah. He knows that ladder. He knows how that works. Yeah. So I don't think it's uncouth for you and I to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I do the same with, guys that are at different levels to me. You can see they're trying to make a move and it's like, I need a little bit of help, a bit of guidance. Sure. What's on your mind? Yeah. And they can be younger. Sometimes they're often older, right?
Interesting.
But it's not just money. That's one part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like a holistic view of what's going to actually give you the highest and best outcome from a life perspective as well, and leveling up and everything. Like you said, there might be dads that might be someone to respect in a large amount from that end, but the bank accounts that reflect the men that they are.
Indeed.
Do they come to you for the advice on the other side?
Of course.
Interesting.
It's a fair exchange, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was
The
going
way
to
it should work, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be leveling up, right? You have to ask yourself, where are my deficiencies in life? And I didn't have a lot of cues when it came to fatherhood. I just didn't.
Okay.
Your father yet? No. Didn't think so. Could tell. No disrespect.
What gave it away? No disrespect,
it's
man.
all good.
Call a spade a spade.
But, you know, when I think about fatherhood, I didn't have a lot of cues because my home was a little sort of fractured.
Okay.
So it was on me to
Yeah.
go, right, where are the answers for fatherhood? Who's got those answers?
Yeah.
And it was funny when I just started looking around. I started, inquiring on, invite a dude for lunch and be like, you seem to have the whole family thing down.
Yeah.
Explain that out for me. Work that through for me.
Yeah.
Pretend I'm 10. Okay, righto. Sometimes I'd take notes.
Yeah.
Because there was so much going on. I'm like, I'm not going to remember half this shit.
Yeah.
And I'd bring notepads. And, today I can squarely say to you that I'm a great father.
Yeah.
I was not born that way. But you can learn anything, right?
100%.
And if you have that again, that ability, that drive, that focus, that point on the horizon, you'll arrive. You'll get there.
Do you ever think you'll stop wanting to learn and level up and keep pushing forward? No.
No, why would you do that?
Yeah. So you never want to stop doing
Why would you do
your
that?
gift though that you have now around the options and everything you do with deal making.
Yeah.
You'll never want to stop.
Look, that's morphed, That's a great question. The commercialization of what I've done through a career is very different. We've monetized some opportunities, yeah. That's changing. That's certainly shifting now.
Yep.
We started an operation recently called Naviset. And at my age, I think you should have enough assets to navigate. And that's where it came from.
Okay.
You really should, by this point in life, have enough to perpetuate a good life.
Yep.
So I'm not as aggressive on the front. I'm not out there, hustling with vendors, although the team's pretty aggressive right now.
Yep.
I sort of take more of a back seat. But as far as our parks business goes, to answer your question in full, it's absolutely barreling along. We have a crisis, we have an affordability issue in this country. And if you and I continue to produce product at that low affordable end, that's an endless cycle in business.
Yeah.
So it's just the solutions that are required in that world. And we're good at solutions. Yeah. So that's barreling ahead. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm not that entrenched in daily operations at all.
Yep.
But certainly take a back seat. But I've incentivized key people that, do very, very well in place of me.
Yep. And you keep driving it around. So you're driving it from the back end, but you've got the right people at the front.
Yeah, most certainly, And that's a very, fluid conversation.
Okay.
It's like they're very much a part of my ethos and my thinking.
Okay.
And I certainly charter them with an enormous amount of responsibility. You do you. The KPI still stands. However you get there is, up to your creativity. But you've got my full support. I trust you. And they're spending, my money at will.
Extension of you. It sounds like you've trained them. They run off your ethos, and they're extension of you. With it sounds like a fair bit of leniency or ability to operate as well.
And there's good things that can happen from that, and there's bad things that can happen from that, right? But I've learned to curb the bad, and rightly adjudicate justice where it's needed.
I love it, mate. There's something you said in there that I always remember you talking about this back on stage. And I've got to actually say, man, I've never been in a room with anyone, in my opinion, that commanded a stage the way you did. And I sat in the rooms of 500 odd people, and I think it was potentially even a few more on some occasions. And man, I remember you talking about solutions, and everything to do with deals comes through solutions. There's always, when there's a problem, there's a solution, and finding that out or being the one that can work that solution is effectively how you make money.
Indeed.
What are your thoughts around that? And can you give us any, deeper thinking around that piece as well, and how important it is to be a solutions-based thinker?
Well, I think your question's timely. I mean, we live in a world right now where, people focus on problems. The cup's half empty. And this is the victim mentality of the masses, isn't it?
Yes.
Why me? Why am I here? This is not fair. Fuck that, I mean, I've always been very clear to characterize our operations, our daily movements, with one question. It's how. Do not bring me a problem without the solution. I don't pay you to identify the problem. They're always going to be there, particularly in the space of development. You think about how many moving parts there are in a project. Fuck, from civil contractors to construction, DAs, consultants, approvals, titles.
The whole thing's a problem. The whole thing's a problem.
From the get-go.
Seriously.
You better be really well-wired and thick-skinned because you're just not going to make it.
Yep.
So everything's solutions. So I guess, over the time, the theme that has always lasted is how.
How?
Just how.
Yep.
I don't want to fucking know about the problem, how.
Yeah.
And that means, everybody taking responsibility. So, the project manager sit there and say, we've got a problem. What's that? Well, the earthworks program's blown up. How? Why? What's the solution? And then we go back to the consultants. How do we fix this? How can we make this better? What do we do here? And we've had some disastrous shit go wrong.
Yep.
I mean, we're up to 460 projects now.
Fuck.
Completed, right?
Yeah,
Do the
right.
math.
How many keys total do you know?
Can you imagine the shit that's gone wrong in that? Mate, I've got a fucking project that's finished. I've got 38 million sitting on the ground. Only a small project. And I go to tap into the sewer main. It's not there. The council ILs are all, yep, it's there. It's in this location. Mate, we dug for fucking 6 hours. I can promise you there is no sewer main here. There is no sewer main to speak of.
Yeah.
Council turns around and says, yeah, not on us, not our problem. They're our records. Doesn't mean they're right. So you've got a whole project. You're burning, I don't know, 65K a week in interest.
How far was the sewer?
Finished,
How far do you have to
peak
bring?
debt. Oh, mate, 500 metres away.
Fuck.
It's up to you to get the consent of all the neighbours to get down there. Can you imagine the pressure? And your banker's going, what?
Did you step
What do
in
you
on that
mean?
one or what?
Huh?
You step in on that one?
Oh, I had to step in on that one.
Yeah,
Mate.
you can't take the back seat on that
I'm
one.
taking
You got to rock
command
up.
of those vendors, mate. I need your approval, and we'll take one for the team.
Oh man.
So you can imagine how many moving parts are in the project. So it's always about how.
Yeah.
It comes back to that one prescription. Bring me the solution, guys. I'm not paying you for the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about rewiring before, and I think a lot of people need to recognise, perhaps your audience, is that when you start asking yourself, how am I going to make the first million? How am I going to do that? How's that going to happen soon? They're just basic questions, but if you start to entertain them, you start to fantasize about them. It's amazing what your mind will create. I could do this, I could do that, I can do IT, I get AI, I'm pretty good at crypto. All of a sudden, there's 200-300 grand from each of those ideas.
Yep.
That over the next 4-year window,
Yep.
they're very real, and all of a sudden it's $1 million. It's not achievable, right? We're pretty fucking talented.
Yeah, 100%.
We sit down and we take time.
Yeah. I think it's the biggest thing. I think that final point there is probably, to me, the most poignant out of everything. It's sitting down and actually taking the time to map it. So many people that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Okay, sweet. How committed? Oh, I'm the most committed. Okay, so how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Exactly. And how? I just say, how are you going to do it, right? And it's sitting there and actually mapping that out.
Yeah.
And I know the most success I've ever had, both in my portfolio and in the business, was when I actually sat down and I mapped out, okay, sweet, I'm going to set X goal.
Yeah.
How do I actually get there? Well, I need to produce this. And then you dial it all the way back to every single little key component in terms of how to actually get there.
Yeah.
And as long as you follow those steps, you will get there.
Yeah.
Will it be hard? Fucking oath it'll be hard.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be hard. It should be hard.
Yeah, you're right. If you start to break it down to each movement, that month, that quarter, that amount, that KPI, that operation, that business.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. That amount of letters, that amount of phone calls, that amount of research, all the rest of it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I love that, mate. I love that. I'm going to rewind 1 second because you were talking earlier about business and the guy that will sit in business and carry on. Now, I laughed internally once when I walked onto a plane flying from Sydney back to the Gold Coast when one of the wealthiest men that I know or have known was sitting in economy. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself,
Jerry Harvey.
no, it was fucking you. It was you.
I got that from Jerry Harvey.
There you go. Okay.
Seriously.
Really?
I think you're going to say Jerry Harvey. I'm like, that fucking guy, I see him all the time. And he's always economy, man. What's that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay, tell me about his story and your story. Like, why?
Mate, I
why
was in
couldn't-
business one day at the front of the plane thinking I was a fucking hero. And Jerry's in row 7.
Fucking hell.
And I've looked at him again. Oh, that's fucking definitely him. You know? What am I doing in business?
Yeah. So that was the check for you? Yeah. Really? Did you ever speak to him? Did you ever ask him why?
Yeah, I've spoken to him plenty of times
Okay,
now.
sweet.
Yeah,
So why?
yeah.
Why?
Oh, he just said, why would you waste money?
Yeah, right.
You know, I've changed my tone a little bit, mate.
Yeah.
I do business now.
Yeah.
But for that, I had to pull my head in.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing 5-6 flights a week, you know, all over the country.
Yeah.
This guy's rolling economy. I am too. I'm with Jerry. So,
Was it with Jerry?
yeah. So you saw me.
I saw you. Yeah,
economy.
Yeah, in economy. In economy. It was funny. And I remember sitting there thinking, I was just like, man, I was trying to fathom because I've always been a tight ass.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, different age brackets here. And I don't know what you were like in your I'm going somewhere here. What I'm saying is I don't know what you were like in your early years when you were making serious coin, if you still saved it for a period of time. And then you got to a time, and this is the thing, I say it now, and I fly business now. Like when I'm flying, I can't be bothered. I fill the seat out a little bit too much. I get a bit too squishy. I get pissed off. I was like, you know what? I want to sit in something a little bit more comfy, and I feel like I've earned the right to it. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because, man, I'm literally only talking probably 2-3 years ago when I used to sit in economy as well, and I saw you in there. And the reason why, and again, you know, I don't mean any offense when I say from the age side of things, man, because you're Jack's motherfucker as it is.
Mate, I'm just joking with you.
But to see you sitting in there, it just triggered something in my mind, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like almost like a humbled side of things.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah.
You know, humility is a beautiful thing, Sam. You know, like, as I said to you before, the noisy dickhead in business and they're making a show at the local restaurant. I mean, they're the ones that you've really got to worry about.
Yeah.
They're the ones that need to look good and smell good and, you know, have all the right answers. Yeah. They generally don't have the money, mate.
Yeah.
So I think humility and taking that forward is actually a quiet gift. You know, I mean, when people can relate to you and they can see you, you know, the guy this morning in the driveway washing the cars, he's just, you know, wow, you know, like, it's refreshing. Mm-hmm. You want to be that guy.
Yep.
You know, you said before about sort of lifting people up. You had your two friends, Nathan and Guy. Yeah. And what they did was contribute to you for no good reason, no gain. If you can be that guy and lift up a dozen on the way, that's a worthwhile pursuit.
100%.
You know, if you can have that level of impact on someone that you don't even fucking know, and they're looking at you going, dude, I know who he is or she is, that's remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an indelible print that you should leave. I think it's a responsibility when you have more money. You need to behave that way. That needs to be your character.
I love that. So you're almost leaning more into it than anything, and I fully resonate with that as well, man. Because I'm from the farm, so I'm not I got the nice cars, but I'm not a flashy dickhead. You know what I mean? And it's funny you say that because I definitely see the guys that are kind of almost on their way through where they just start getting a little bit of cash, and then they start acting like an idiot, and you're just like, man, just check the ego. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's that's why, that is where I was coming around with it from the side of things of. Man, you're worth a lot of money to be sitting there as humble, and you were just chilling, man. You were just chilling there. I was looking at you as well. I was trying to catch your eye, and you were just chilling there. You were just sitting there doing anything and thinking, or you were reading, or I can't remember, you were doing something. And yeah, man, no flashiness, just chill. And I'm like, this dude's $100+ million man, and he's just sitting in economy chilling. Yeah. And man, I tell you, like, I've always respected you massively, and I remember walking past you going, that's another tick of respect. You know what I mean, on my end, just seeing you chilling, like no showboating.
And to sort of, you know, elaborate on your comment about age, you know, it'll definitely become more obvious to you as well. It'll go full circle. There'll be a full revolution where you realise, you know what, at my age, it might be 40, 45, 50, and you realise I need to sort of almost disengage from any of that in order to bring the best of me forward. You know, like, think about the way you behaved, perhaps, your persona at 25, maybe even 30 on the way up, what money meant, you know, how you projected that message, you know, at that age, because now I'm on the up, I'm making money, I deserve respect, you know who I am. There's this need for significance, right? And I think as you sort of, you kind of tally it up and you're like, I've done more than I ever expected to. Yeah. Then you can just start to dilute that down, and that becomes a really beautiful place, you know?
Mate, I love that you say that, because that is literally the exact place I'm in right now.
Yeah.
I've achieved everything I've ever wanted to achieve. Yeah. I've got a freaking mansion. I've got all my cars in my basement. Yeah. And it's funny because I literally said to Kel, who's one of my best friends, my producer, who's sitting here with us, last week, I was in Bali with her last week as well. The reason I love going to Bali is because I cruise around for a week with my shirt off. I'm sitting in boardies. No one knows who the hell I am. I'm on a scooter. I'm the same as everyone else. Yeah. And it was so funny, man, because I was sitting at this table with Brendo, you know Brendo Gagan, and Kel's husband, actually. And we were sitting there, and this young English girl was next to us, about 25 or something, reading a book. And we were talking to the waiter, and we were just having a laugh with the waiter, and then they come over, and then the waitress, and we were just all please and thank yous and all the rest of the sort of thing. And it was funny, man, because she actually stopped us in the middle. She stopped eating her lunch and then stopped us in the middle of eating her lunch. And she goes, it is so refreshing to hear people that are so nice to staff. Yeah. And it's funny, man. And like, I just was brought up like that, and I've always tried to be a very humble person. I've never been an arrogant person in that regard. And it was just, it was really weird to get stopped and to be complimented on being polite. Yes. And it's funny.
From a stranger.
And she had no idea who I was, obviously, right? Like, English girl. We're in the middle of Bali, and they had no idea who I was. And it's like funny, man, that like, I feel like I'm more humble. I'm more humble now, exactly what you said, than I was on that way up.
Well done.
And it wasn't even that the ego was there, but you start getting that confidence that comes with making some cash. Yeah. And I think I love ego checks, and I love it when, and I think I'm very cognizant of my own, what I do myself personally, and I always try and make sure I'm checking myself on that front. Yeah. But man, I think it's one of those things, and this is the Top 1% podcast. Like, so many of these people are really pushing hard, trying to achieve amazing things. And I'm worth a fair bit of coin. Mark's worth a lot more than me. And I think what's a really crazy thing that I think a lot of people need to take a check on themselves, if you're on the way up, make sure you're checking that ego and make sure because you don't want to become someone that you despised when you were looking at the way up. You want to be someone that could come and sit down next to a cafe, next to Mark or myself, and think, fuck, they're nice guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's a really important note, because you can still be an animal.
Yes.
But you can still be a nice person. If anything, that's the ultimate human, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You be an animal and everything else, but you're still a nice person.
Absolutely. Is that duality?
For sure.
You know, I can be a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
But then I can also be super kind and generous.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need that whole spectrum of ability.
Yeah.
Because it's a very empty show. It's a very empty victory, isn't it? When people look at you and go, yeah, he's fucking rich, but God almighty, he's a fucking asshole too. Right?
100%.
You know people like that.
Yeah.
I know people like that.
Yeah.
And it's frightening.
Yeah.
You're like, what happened? How did they get there?
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure that it ensures longevity either. I'm not convinced.
It doesn't.
There's at some point where something, there's a chink in the armor, something gives way, but no one's there to support their demise. It's like, fucking let him fall. Right? For sure. And it just unravels. Yeah. But if that was to happen to you right now, I'm sure there'd be plenty of people, Kel included, that would come to your rescue. Yeah. I fucking got you, man. I know who you are. I know your spirit. You're good. Let's make this happen. Let's rebuild. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Brother, I've been through that this year as well.
Indeed, really. Tell me about
that. Actually,
you've been asking the questions.
Yeah, it's true, man.
I'll fire a few back.
Mate, you take the mic. Mate, went through a massive relationship breakdown this year for a long-term partner.
You were married?
No.
Got it?
No.
How long?
5.5 years.
Yeah.
Very,
it's going to hurt.
Very close. Man, hurt a lot.
Okay. How you doing?
I'm all right now. 6 months of hectic pain. The most pain I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah, mate, heartbreak's fucking hard. There's nothing like that.
It was tough, man. It was tough. But I had great people around me. You're exactly right.
Yes.
And there was other things in the business that were happening at the same time as well. This year, 100%, is the hardest year I've ever had in my life.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Of all the shit you've been through on the way up and all the stuff that you've made happen, and that's fucking heartbreak that brings you unraveled. Yeah. Strange, isn't it? And it's this point where you start to realise, I've got everything I want, or they're all the hallmarks of success.
Yep.
Nothing can touch me. And then you're unnerved in 1 year, right?
Yeah. It's funny.
It's good.
Most successful year and then most catastrophic year almost at the same time, you know what I mean?
I love the universe, don't you? So how you doing now?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It took me a bit of time to pull out of the mud, pull out of the fog.
Yeah, for sure.
You know Toby Pierce?
Yeah, of course.
Toby said to me, I had him on the podcast a couple of months ago.
Great guy.
And he's a legend.
Legendary.
Absolutely love him, mate. He's absolutely a champion. We talk about humble blokes. You would have no idea that he's worth what he's worth. Yeah. Champion bloke. And he said to me that the most painful times in his life have perfectly coincided with the times of the greatest learning and the greatest growth.
Oh, yes.
And so I can wholeheartedly appreciate and agree with that after this year.
Mate, those intersections are not coincidental. They're just not.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's what truly shapes a man. How you walk out of that.
Yeah.
When everything looks right.
Yeah.
Everything's going great. And it's just fucking terminal. It's fatal.
Yeah.
Is he going to rise from the dust? They're the ones where you can look yourself in the mirror and say, self-made.
Yeah.
Fucking self-made.
I couldn't.
No one's seeing that.
Yeah.
No one's listening to that story.
Yeah.
There again goes back to that thinking you said before. When a man sits down and thinks and plots and strategizes, they're the same conversations, so very similar. Yeah. That you get to decide how I play this. Am I going to be dirty? Am I going to rip a heart out? Am I going to go back with vengeance? Or am I going to walk away with this from this with grace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love him, man.
They're hard choices to make, mate.
100%.
Well done.
Can I ask you, I know you've obviously been through the same side, like on your side, you went through a lot of that as well. Yeah. How did you go pulling through it?
Not as remarkable as you, my friend. Yeah, it was not an easy time, Sam. You know, it turned really sour. Yeah, it was hard. You know, I lost a little girl. She was only 5 days old. And that's just sort of set a chain effect in motion, you know, chain reaction. The same year that my wife came to me and said, I want a divorce. And I was like, yeah, I thought that was coming after what had happened. Yeah. And not to say we didn't have issues before, but it certainly put, it sort of accelerated things, somewhat. And then it sort of became really twisted, you know. It was sort of about $300,000 a month in lawyers' fees.
Jesus.
And it got really, really bitter. And just, you know, trying to contain that, you know, the strain, the finances, the family falling apart, watching your kids, you know, go through that. Yeah, it was difficult, man. Yeah. It was hard. And plenty of late nights and long conversations with yourself. And yeah, heartbreak is something that can bring a man undone. It can delaminate you and I. Because as you and I can be so focused, we can be very focused in love. And the minute that breaks down, it changes the picture, it changes the emotions around what we had idealized, right?
Yep.
Cars, in your words, mansion, relationship, right there, they're all important. And the minute that one of those breaks down, decays, it can really throw us.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It wasn't funny, but it's in a way it is when you think about it. I think what drives men like us and allows us to operate at the level that we do is the same thing that allows us to go through such crazy focus on the negatives of that happening as well, right?
That's good.
And my mentor, he is wired very similar to us. He built multiple 40, 50 million plus a year businesses, like very, very successful. The only thing that ever could bring him unstuck was heartbreak.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes.
Everything else is animal and everything. And he wouldn't give a fuck about something in a relationship. And then it happened, and then he'd be broken.
Yeah.
And he'd blow everything up. And it's weird. And it was, I think I was very lucky for the people I had around me, and him being one of them as well.
Yeah.
Able to show me, like, explain to me why I was so broken from what had happened.
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's a direct correlation between being wired a certain way and then something like this also affecting us the way it does as well.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. That intensity that you and I provocate in business and commerce is the intensity that can bring us down in a relationship of love. Yeah. You are absolutely right. They're the same. They're one and the same. Yeah. I agree. And as you just pointed out, rightly so, you touched on, you know, your thinking, the focus and the determination that comes from you making decisions and being good at what you do, good at your craft, can be the break point in a relationship, because I've decided this is how it's going to be. I remember as a young fella, you know, my parents being divorced and thinking that's never going to happen to me. And here it is. You're staring down the barrel of, you know, disarray and your family literally on the verge of, you know, breaking apart. Yeah. And you're watching your kids and you can see the tension, you know, and they're heartbroken. You can just see it. Yeah. And that's hard to comprehend. You know, we're seen as the villains often in divorce. Yeah. We are seen as the enemy. He's trying to control her. He's got the fucking money. He's done this. It's not the case at all, I believe. We're just painted to be the villain.
Yeah.
We have feelings too. And I think a lot of, you know, women look past that. You know, he's done this to me, he's done that. That's fine. But victimhood is what wins points, particularly in court. And you and I are left holding the fucking baby. Like, we're the ones that are like, you know, I've funded quite a few legal cases now of close friends of mine that haven't had access to their children. Yeah. And that's the weapon that a woman uses. This is not berating women. It's just making it known, realising this is common. Yeah. Their go-to is no kids, access, or it's going to be this type of custody. A recent friend of mine, he's tried to commit suicide twice now. And sadly, you know, it broke up and his wife just happened to say he was a pedophile. That was all it took. Hasn't seen his kids for 2.5 years.
Jesus.
Not once. And he is the most beautiful man, like a giant, but just such a soulful man. Yeah. So kind, helpful, and servant, you know, to many. You think, that can't be him. No way. It's impossible. But it gave her the leverage that she needed at that time. So I don't know all the answers, Sam, but it makes it a very hard position when you're somewhat successful, you've got money, and there's a gain on the way out of this. Yeah. How it was peddled to me was, you're the last check that I'll ever get. Hectic. Yeah, that's pretty hard.
How are you doing?
I'd worked for 25 years at that point, mate, to get what I had at that point.
Yeah.
And I was looking down the barrel of a check of about 90 million. Yeah, that wasn't exactly fair. I mean, I had money before the relationship ever happened.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
I was well and truly advanced. But that was the way that it was interpreted. So, yeah, it was pretty hard. Does that answer your question? Do you think there's still some remnants of a few things there?
Fucking hell, mate.
It took up 14 minutes of your slot.
Mate, no, it was, man, that's deep, dude. Are you okay now?
I'm great. I'm
Okay.
great. But I do know heartbreak as you do.
Yeah.
And it's something that can really leave us, can leave us a little bit unsure and a little untrusting.
Yeah.
And you got to be quick to reprimand that thinking as well. You know?
In what way?
Well, it's easy to sit there and say, I won't trust anymore. And I see a lot of friends of my age, that are always reaching for BFAs and all this sort of nonsense, and there's not a whole lot of protection for a male, but I think you have to have an open heart.
Mm.
You can't be going back there damaged and be like, I need to do all this to protect myself. You're just kind of repeating what had already happened.
Yeah, right.
You're carrying it with you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying trust willingly. I'm saying, be the gatekeeper of your own level of justice.
Yeah, right.
Right?
I get you.
Keep those loving thoughts in check. And have a commercial mind as well.
I was literally about to say almost like a development, like a calculated risk, right?
Well, I actually have run the maths a few times, I won't lie. I'm a pretty simple guy, mate. Run a ledger of profit versus risk,
You Gantt charted out or what?
Got it, mate. Just step that baby out. Not quite, but close.
Man, I appreciate you being so raw and open with me as well.
You're welcome, man.
That's
And you.
That's some crazy shit, mate. Thank you. Man, I'm gonna take a pivot, if that's all right. 2,000 properties. I own over 100. I thought I had a lot.
Yeah.
2,000 plus.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. How?
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. But, look, running the commercial game, it's a bit different from the resi that you're playing. And, the residential, we were doing projects, we're sort of keeping 10, 12, 18 keys a year debt-free. But then to sort of scale and get momentum to that was a bit hard. You always had a hot water system, someone not paying rent, and, someone driving through a garage door. So I just started targeting many years ago that affordable end or land lease communities.
Yeah.
I just started buying caravan parks and converting them to permanents.
Okay.
So 2,000 houses, the 2,000 dwellings that consume, a lot of rent in a weekly window.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I realised, I didn't want to have 2,000 individual houses.
Yeah.
But if I can have this many parks and 200 houses in one spot, 200 houses, 161, 212, one management team that oversees and overlooks the whole operation, then we're going to win it. And that cycle, what it's like to be a landlord today. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. What got you into that? What got you into that? I remember you talking about caravan parks a decade ago. So you convert them from caravan parks into fixed dwellings?
Yeah, I do. I get rid of all the short-term accommodation. I don't want tourism.
Okay.
It's just too noisy, hard on your managers.
Yeah.
Lot of headspace, like it's just too hard. So we just basically we were buying in the initial stages, caravan parks and just slowly but gently rolling out the tourism and rolling it to permanent. And mate, the rest is history. It's been an extraordinary ride.
Yeah.
You buy a park for 12 and now it's worth 26. All that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
Yeah.
You've also had a lot of corporate capital move in as well.
Okay.
A lot's changed in that space, just recently I can't really say too much, but there was a fund that was opened and they were hunting down 660 million in a fund. And, mate, within 15 business days, it was oversubscribed 3 times.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That's quite
$2 billion.
a statement. Yeah.
Jesus.
And what they did, they were so clever. It was a private company. They took the excess capital and went and paid for their closest competitor. Like, that's the space.
Huh.
So you're seeing stock in there today. You're seeing multiplex in there today. You're seeing Lend Lease in there today. They're all just flying into this space.
Yeah.
So land lease community just means that you and I own the dirt. They buy a house and put it on there, and you and I collect ground lease every day, every week, for the rest of their lives. If they don't pay, move the fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to move it. It's going to cost them 40 grand.
Yeah.
So they're going to find the money.
Yeah.
And just doing that on scale.
Okay.
So we've wound that opportunity out as best we can. And strategically now, I've decided we're going to develop those parks.
Yep.
So, putting 300-400 houses on the ground, full DA, all infrastructure, the bowling greens, the whole lot, the whole calamity.
Yeah.
And that's the current move that we're undertaking at the moment.
So you mentioned bowling greens just then. Do you go more into the retirement space?
Yeah.
So it's over-55s.
Yeah, we call it over 50s.
Okay, cool.
So in the old days, that was someone that was retiring. Today, it's a single mum with 3 kids, a single dad with 3 kids. You can't discriminate.
Yeah.
And, you and I as landlords, money's the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where it comes from.
Yeah.
So that machine has got an enormous amount of potential.
Yeah.
And you can just see the capital. That's just one example, but there's dozens of those where, corporate capital or even hedge funds from the US are piling in, Canadian pension fund.
Really?
They're just throwing down checks, mate, for, 500-600 million, 800 million at a time.
Jesus, for sites.
It's extraordinary.
Wow.
Extraordinary. You've got an ageing population right now that the government wants to disown any form of responsibility.
Yeah.
They don't care about that.
Yeah.
If you're over 50, over 60, it's on you.
Yeah.
And they can't afford a $1.7 million home, 1.2. That's not going to happen. They can go into a park, buy a brand new house for 460 grand, and the government subsidises their ground lease up to 82%.
Is that right?
So you want to collecting checks from the government, mate? I'm okay with that. So we're muscling in there pretty fast. You know? We've had a good start, a head start, but we're definitely capitalising the opportunity.
How long have you been running that model for?
Oh, 8.5 years now. Yeah.
Okay. You were acquiring parks before that, or
no?
That's 8.5 years ago. You started
my first park about 8.5 years.
Okay,
ago.
sweet.
I think it was the end of 2017, 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah, sweet.
Mate, people thought I was fucking crazy. Development friends of mine be like, "How much time do you dedicate to that operation a week?" I'm like, 15, 20 hours. They just look at me. Why? Like we used to have a project.
Yeah.
2 projects.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, I just don't want to keep going back to the casino.
Yeah.
Like, the high risk, high margin model is good while it lasts. And we've been through a few dips and, we've managed to navigate them well. But I just wanted a passive asset base that would just produce cash whether I was there or not.
Yeah.
And that turned on pretty quickly.
Yeah. How many parks do you own now, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, can't say that.
Oh, okay. So, but it's over 2,000 dwellings effectively combined.
Yeah,
Okay,
spot
awesome.
on. Yeah, we kind of keep that a bit hush. There's a few different brands in the space.
Yeah.
And we sort of operate. But the challenge you've got, Sam, is that when competitors find out what the hell's going on, they're sort of very quick to block you.
Yeah, right.
It's like Coles and Woolies, There'll be a Woolworths that opens up, but, mate, they've bought, 4 other sites around there. So Coles hasn't got a shit show in getting in there in the next 20 years, right? It's just land banking.
Really?
And this is what happens in our space as well.
Yeah.
I buy a park, and we'll buy it on a certain brand, but they don't realise the association to the other parent company.
For sure.
Which gives us a greater chance of penetrating that market,
Yeah.
without being noticed.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. It's something I probably won't dive too much on our side, but within the buyer's agency space, I'm so careful when we first enter an area, because that research and that head start that we have in terms of others getting in front of us, or us getting in front of others. We've had markets that we'll get 6, 9, 12 months in ahead.
Yeah.
And that is a considerable amount of properties that we can secure before anyone else comes in.
Sure.
And by the time they come in, we've got the whole market locked down.
Yeah, that's right.
So
And your buyers are doing so well from that.
Killing it.
IP that you've developed.
For sure.
Yeah,
so we might have the first 12 months, first 9 to 12 months, it might be literally no competition. The market starts to move. The second 12 months, we've got it locked down. So by the time everyone else is coming in year 2 or 3 or whatever it is,
Party's over.
And we're out, and they're buying in, driving those prices up to the next level as well. So
which only benefits your client.
100%. That's how they win in a big way. So it's good, man. It's good. No, I love that. So are you still, in terms of the options side of things as well, man, you still running the event, still running the shindig there too?
Events, no. We do all that sort of green screen now.
Okay.
But as in using options in our model, absolutely.
Yeah. Why did you go away from doing the events?
Oh, just a lifestyle choice, man.
Okay.
It was great. And I love the team. You can see the team's inspired by when you see these victories. It sort of fills the sails of everybody. But, I'm a sole parent, so it just means that there's a lot more time requirement, from a fatherhood point of view. And, that whole machine was fairly laborious.
Yeah.
There's a lot going into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and parks are really the future for us.
Yeah, okay.
And developments just feed that machine in terms of cash.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So you're still running mainly resi projects, like developments that'll fund into the park developments.
Exactly.
I love that, man. I love that. That's cool. Man, in terms of mentors, obviously, now you've gone through a crazy journey like yourself. In terms of, and so obviously the street smarts that you would have developed through actually, I will touch on the bankruptcy for a second at 22 when you got shafted. Would you mind telling us that? I know we've got a limited time. You tell us that in a bullet point version.
Yeah, sure. The bankruptcy was pretty ugly, sure. You know, I had a building business. I was in construction. I was a chippy. I was a licensed builder at that point. And I thought going back to uni would be smart. That way I can be an engineer, sort of do everything under one umbrella.
Yeah.
I appointed a manager to the operation, and this guy was very clever in how he embezzled the money out of it. He just started building shit on his own and using my accounts.
No way.
So how do you justify that stick of timbers from my account and not yours? It was just messy.
Yeah.
And the only way to solve it fast was to walk away.
Yeah, right.
So, and that that took me to the line. I was $431,000 below zero. Mate, this was what? This was 2001, early 2001. You buy a house for 180 grand.
Man. That's a lot of money back then.
A mate of mine bought a house, for 180 grand. So you're talking 3 houses below zero. What's that today? Call it 4 mil.
Yeah.
I was 22. 4 million debt, 22, with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what spawned you looking down the other avenues of making more money and the obviously the famous phone call that you got washing windows one day, right?
Yeah.
I still remember you telling it on stage, mate,
yeah.
nearly 15 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. He just rang me and said, I'm in trouble. Do you have any buyers through your building circles?
Yeah.
And that's where it kicked off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, how?
Yeah.
I don't have the money to settle 6 blocks of dirt. I fucking don't.
Yeah.
I've got 431 grand worth of debt,
Debt.
accruing interest with the ATO daily. That's how it works, right? The meter's running,
Yeah. Oh, it was ATO debt.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
Majority of
Bloody
that was
hell.
ATO
Yeah.
debt. So that accrues daily interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just how can I somehow get those cheap blocks from him because he's desperate
Yeah.
and then flick him on to
Yeah.
a builder
Yeah.
and just make something in between?
That's where the options started. Yeah. Beautiful. Mate, the best, what do you reckon the best advice, mentors that you've had as well, actually, if you don't mind kind of running through, you have mentors both for business and obviously from the property side as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, totally.
What do you reckon the best advice was that you got from any of those?
One of them, early days, lovely guy, a really good, wholesome man, very good business operator. Early days, he'd put himself through some really big projects, golf courses and estates around those courses. So this guy would turn out sort of $400 million a year with a product. And I remember just finishing a meeting at breakfast, one day, and I said I'd invite him out for brekkie, which I would do. And he was standing across the street, and I was telling him about this project that I had in mind. Yep. And I don't know, it was like 18, 20, 25 townhouses or something. And I'd pre-sold half of it in a matter of weeks. This is before the education machine ever kicked off. And he's yelled across the street, "You'll never go broke making a profit." Mm-hmm. And it was always about trying to segment yourself in a market where there's profit. Yep. It's like, don't play in that league if there's no money. Yeah. And back then, it was pretty remnant of today, really. The high end, people are so drawn to it. I don't know. I don't get it. I want to sell $5 million units or $10 million penthouses. And you look at the margins, you're like, there's not much in it.
Yeah.
For the risk to get to that, to sell that one key at that price to make that margin. Yeah. I'm in there for 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, the time frame.
And there's so much fluctuation and variance. And yet they honestly think they can pull it off. And it bewilders me. I'm just the guy that just turns out a mega profit. I might make 170 grand a key. Yeah. But if I'm pushing 260 keys a year like this year, that's a good margin. Yeah. That's a good profit. Yeah. Do the math. Yeah. I don't need to take those big swings. Because if I miss, you're over. Yeah. It takes too long to recover. Yeah. I think when you see somebody or a new budding developer or someone new to the acquisition world of their portfolio,
for sure.
If they take a big swing and miss, that's 6-8 years of recovery.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pain. And you're probably going to fix the problem with after-tax dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So you're dislocated out of the opportunity for market 6-8 years. Yeah. That's just not worth the risk. So, I think, speaking with John back in those days, he helped me fashion that style to projects. Yeah. Yeah. He was that guy.
I love that, man.
He'd do low-end, affordable stuff. He had on golf courses, but it was never silly. Yeah. It was always affordable. It was never stupid.
So I always find it's a funny thing, even though I know you're in the development space, you're highly successful at it. I see a lot of people now, they come through and they make good money doing what I do, which is acquisition of, say, that blue collar style asset, but timing markets perfectly. You know what a market can do if you time it right at the start or just before, in a 2, 3, 4 year window. They make great money out of that. And let's say they make $1 million and then they want to rip a whole $1 million out and then go do a development that they have no experience in.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, mate, you've got a proven system. You've won.
Yeah.
Keep winning.
Yeah.
Don't go trying to roll the dice in something that isn't your game, isn't your field. And that always blows my mind when people have a proven result somewhere and a replicatable system or someone that can replicate it for them ongoingly, and then they want to roll the dice on something they have no understanding around because they want to play the developer card. It's the same as in your space. People want to go to that top end with the tiny margins just so they can say they're playing in the blue chip.
Totally.
Very interesting.
Interestingly, you said you opened that discussion about mentors.
Yes.
Another great guy that I spent a lot of time with, Keith Cunningham.
Okay.
He's the rich dad and rich dad poor dad. So Kiyosaki's referring to him, and he's an icon, mate. That guy, he's extraordinary. But going back to your point, your friends there where they make money, $1 million in acquisition, and they'll switch out and go to developer. Yeah. One of his famous sayings is, "Get in line and stay in line. Do what you do good.
Yeah.
You found your craft. You've honed it. Stay with that. Yeah. For you to switch across to development now would be financial suicide."
Yeah.
But he's often, he'll be like, I see people in business and they'll, whatever, it might be textiles, it might be, research or consulting, and they'll dive into something completely alien to them and wonder why it falls over. Yeah. So Keith, he's an interesting fellow. That guy's been a multi-billionaire, bankrupt, and a multi-billionaire. And they're the best to learn from. Yeah. I don't want the guy that's just been an ascending all the way through his career. You actually want the guy that's had to dig deep,
had the falls,
lost a couple of billion, and then come back to tell you, well, this is what I learned.
Lost a couple of billion.
Yeah. So he's a great guy. And going back to your previous point, you talk about humility. There is a guy that you'd be astonished. He has tremendous humility.
Yeah.
Tremendous. I bailed him up in Hawaii. A mate of mine gave me a tip off. He said, "Listen, this guy's going to be at this resort on these dates. You know who he is?" I said, "Yeah, I do actually. I know the book. I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad a few times." "I didn't tell you, but he's going to be in this hotel." I said, "Great." I flew from Australia to Hawaii.
No way.
On the idea to be in the fucking buffet somewhere. I'm going to find him. I'm going to find this guy. Talk about humility. So I roll in. Sure enough, day 3, I'm sitting there. I'm walking through the lobby doing my little laps in this hotel. I see him make a beeline. And I recognise him straight away. Texan, hat, the whole lot, right? He's walking into the buffet. And, mate, in just pure nobility, looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, sure, I can have a chat with you." I said, "Listen, is there a time we can catch?" "Yeah, sure." He looks at his wife, he says, "Sandy, is it okay if him and I chat tomorrow over breakfast?" And I said, "That'd be great." Like, just sort of stunned. "You fucking serious?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "Yeah, of course. He goes, "I'll see you then tomorrow, about 8:20, same time."
No way.
And, mate, I sat there for, an hour and 10, hour and 15, and he was just amazing.
Hectic.
Like I was the only person there.
Yeah.
Do this, and he was so funny.
Yeah.
"What do you do?" I explained it, and he goes, "Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it?" And I was back then probably banking between sort of 9 and 12 million a year net in projects. It was early days.
And he said, "That's a shame."
"Yeah, it's a shame." I said, "Right." My ego's fucking like this, "It's a shame, isn't it?" I said, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Well, you're just one of those guys, those smart guys that just sell their time at a higher rate." "Yeah, that's a shame." I just was like, righto, I'm about to learn something really significant.
Here we go.
Because you could just tell. He was
For sure.
his intention was pure.
Yeah.
He's not there to fucking destroy you, knock you off your perch. But he was just like, young snapper. We've got a few things to teach you. And I just listened intently. And he goes, "Yeah, you got to get away from that. Whatever you're doing in that world, I don't want to know about it. Passive income." And I jumped on the plane the following night. I came back and I must have written 7 pages of notes. Everything he fucking said, I swear to you, was a sentence. It was a one-liner. Right. And I came back to Aussie and I was like, righto, we're going to expand the projects, but for a limited time. There's an exposure that I'm comfortable with, and it's going to perform at this level. And then I'm going to produce more cash and invest in this thing called Parks. And that changed everything. So mentors, you talk about mentors, they come to you in different varieties.
Interesting, hey? Yeah. I was wondering if that's where you're going to lead with the Caravan Parks. As soon as you said passive income, I was like, this is where the Caravan Park spawned from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's just like, don't be that monkey. Because he sold his TV channel to CNBC News.
Okay.
It was like 316 million in 1984.
Jesus, talk about
A
inflation.
colossal amount of money, right? But he went bankrupt.
Yeah, right.
Straight thereafter. 2 years later, had no money. It's hard to believe.
Hectic.
That's like what, 900 million today, give or take. And he was broke 2.5 years later. And he just said, I was not going to do that ever again, sell time, that time stuff. It's too valuable. And his business model from that point was to buy drive-in car washes.
Okay.
Car lovers?
Yeah.
That model. He bought one, then he bought like 173 or something. And that was it. That was the base.
That was the
Then
cash
from then
cow.
on, yeah, correct.
So he's insulated. Always insulated because he had the cash cow.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
He's
Interesting.
got into oil, gas, mate. The guy does reverse mergers. He's a fucking weapon.
Mate, I love it. I love it. Mark, man, it's honestly has been a ridiculous chat, mate. I've looked forward to this for a very, very long time. I got one final question for you.
Sure.
What do you believe is the number one character trait of the top 1%?
Great question. Kind of plies into what you've said all along, I believe, is, I really do, is bringing people with you. You can be a dickhead or you can have the choice to be a real leader. I think in business, if you choose that ladder, you'll always win. I think the idea of getting to somewhere financially at all costs, that's a very dangerous position to take. But I think that, you should be pushing a few ahead of you and pulling a few behind, dragging them with you.
Yeah.
And if you can take that approach, that mentality, I think to business and commerce, enterprise, I think you'll always do very well.
How do you pick between the ones you push behind and the ones you take with you?
You're dragging a few and you're pushing a few. Look, they select themselves.
Yeah.
They select themselves.
By their actions.
Yeah, totally. They either believe in you, and you can believe in them, sort of invest in them, but they sort of make themselves known after a time.
Yeah.
They're the ones still standing. They're the ones that were left behind when your relationship fell apart. Make sense?
Yeah.
They're the ones.
100%.
So as long as you're pushing a few and dragging a couple with you, I think that's the approach to great success.
Yeah. I love it, mate. I love it. Well, Mark, man, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's funny. I had a full script, not a script, but I always have a skeleton that I write out first. And it's funny because I love to do it first thing in the morning before I come and see the guest because it allows shit to like percolate in my mind like fresh. I'll do this. I don't do anything else. I go train. I go home, I do this, and then I come straight to the studio and just lets all this sort of stuff percolate. And then it's funny, man, because then I'll ask you a couple of questions before we start and then just let it run. You know what I mean? Yeah. And man, that went so far off where my skeleton was, but I loved it, man. I loved it. Thank you for being so raw and real with us, mate, on the Top 1% podcast.
You're doing great, Sam.
Appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah, keep up the great work, my friend.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Be well.